Hi, everybody. We're going to start working on exercise 27 today, layering fabrics by color mapping. And I have included a couple files here, so you're going to need these to complete this project. First, you have to open this one, and this one is going to give you this picture here. So what we are doing here is we have learned how to create our own fabric patterns. So now we're going to layer those fabric patterns on top of those dresses. But one thing you have to understand here is that the patterns have a certain direction, especially on this skirt, there are flares. So the pattern has to follow a certain direction so that it looks natural. So what I would recommend you to do first is save this file on your computer, Photoshop images. So this is the Natalie pose. It is from your book. And you can also follow up with your book. Your book has instructions if you rather work by reading your book rather than watching the video. So you can do that too. So now we have that saved. I'm going to go to my files. And I'm going to open this with Photoshop. So you can say open with and select Photoshop. Another thing you can do is you can, while you're on Photoshop, you can just say file open and go to the file from there. So let me just stop sharing that screen. I'm going to start sharing my other stuff. There's also this herringbone image and this other image. So these are the fabric patterns we're going to use. So you can click on this and you're going to save that one onto your computer. So I'm going to save that. And then I'm going to have to go and open that as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and save this one. Okay, now we're here. Now we can open these other files as well. Images. I'll select the herringbone and open that. The other image, which is a different pattern. Okay, so now I have my herringbone, I have my other pattern, and I have my Natalie image. Now, the one thing I can also recommend you, instead of using these patterns, because we want to use these patterns, one of those patterns on the skirt and another one on the jacket. But if you want to use one of your patterns that you've already created on any of these, you're welcome to do so. I'm also going to open this one. Maybe I can try to use this on the pattern as well. So I'm just going to show you how that works. Let's say you just select a portion of this, okay, and say copy. And then you go to your image and you can go to Magic Wand and select this section of the skirt, for example. Now I'm going to try to paste my image into this section that is selected. So for that, you go to paste special, and then you select paste into. And it actually pastes it in here, whatever you've selected. And then you can also move this and change the direction of it. Okay. But when you put it like that, it just doesn't look very natural because I can also do it like this. So you see that this is a skirt, it has some flare. So the pattern doesn't look natural because the skirt has some movement on it. So to create that movement, this is what we're going to do. So I'm going to delete this. What we need to do is create some color mapping. So color mapping is defining the directions of the pattern, the direction that pattern needs to go in certain parts of the dress by creating blocks. So first, I want to start with a new layer, and I'm going to call this layer arrows, because we're going to have our arrows in this layer. I want to take my line tool, and we can select, let's change our foreground color to maybe a red color. That way our arrows are visible, and you can make your arrows 3 pixels or shorter. But if you make a line, it's obviously not going to do an arrow. So to make an arrow, you have to go to these settings here, and it says arrowheads. Select the start and end. That way we have an arrowhead on each side. And now we can define the direction. Okay. So on this skirt, let's start with the skirt. On this skirt, this is the direction the skirt is going, right? This is the direction the skirt is going here. This is the direction the skirt is going here. And then it's this way, this way, this way. That's going that way. This is going this way. Okay. And this is probably going in that direction. How about here? This is going a little bit this way. Okay, so this is our skirt, and this should be going that way. So now we are going to separate it into sections. We're going to map this, and we're going to put different colors on each side. Now I'm going to show you what that color block means. So what we are doing is creating something like this, where you have defined all of those directions with your arrows, and you can see where the pattern is supposed to go in what direction, right? So we're gonna do that for the top as well. So for the top, this is the direction, this is the direction. The rest is going that way. It's going this way here, that way, and this way, right? This is your pattern. Okay. And here it's probably gonna be a little bit this way, right? Okay, now that we have our arrows set up, and if you select shape on arrows, it's going to create different layers for each one. If you select pixels or path, it's going to be a little different. What you can do is you can hold Command and select all of these layers. There are way too many. You can also select path, and I don't think it will create layers when you do that. Okay, now we can click on this, and it's going to group all of these arrows. So I can call this arrows. So if you click here, you're going to see all your layers. Okay, I just combined them all into one group. Now let's just start our color mapping. And for this, we are going to, let me duplicate this layer. That way we can do everything on this one, and we don't have to do any changes on here. Okay, so we want to color every direction into a different color. So we can start with this. When you're making these lines, you can get rid of the arrowheads. Yeah, so while you're on the trace copy, just make sure when you make the lines, make sure it's pixels, okay? That way it's not creating a separate layer because then it doesn't recognize. Okay, so I'm gonna close this and go to my bucket and do this. Okay, now here we can probably use swatches so that we have better colors. Let me see if I need to close any gaps here. I'm gonna select this color and maybe just close here. Go to paint bucket and okay. Here I have two directions, so I'm going to use my line. Let's select this color and I'm going to create a line here and make it go like that. Okay. Now paint buckets and I'll go here. Select this color. Oops, leaking somewhere. I think it's at the bottom. Close that. Paint bucket here. We're going to do the same thing here. Okay, so we're done with our color mapping. So now we can start placing our fabric pattern and layering on top of this. So we're going to go to our herringbone image. What I'm going to do is I'm going to edit, transform, scale, and we can scale it down. Okay. So let's say, let's do it 65%. Yeah, that's good. Okay, now we're going to select a portion of this. Select a portion, copy it, and then we're going to go to our color map. Now let's just get rid of the arrows so that they're not showing. And we're going to get our magic wand. We'll start with the skirt. So we're going to select each section. And then we're going to go to paste special and then say paste into. And we have that placed in here. Now you can actually see the arrows. It might be helpful. If you go to your move tool, you are able to change the direction of your herringbone pattern to match the direction of the skirt. Okay, so this is what we're going to do for each section. So now we're going to go to our magic wand again, select, oops, we are not supposed to stay on here, stay here, select this portion, and then go to edit, paste special, paste into, and you have your herringbone pattern in there. Now you use your move tool to move the direction of the skirt in that direction so that you have that skirt going in the right direction. Okay, now we're going to go to the next one. Go to trace copy in here. And that's going to be our last one. And now here on this layer, what I am going to do is change the opacity a little bit on this layer. So if you go to opacity and reduce it here because it's back of the skirt, that will give you something a little better. Okay, so we got the skirt. Now if you want to group these skirt patterns together too, we can do that. So command, and then you select every one of these. And then group them. And we're going to call this skirt. And now we're going to do the jacket with the other pattern, which is this one. Now we can group all of these layers as well. So hold the command key and push each layer. Group them and call it the jacket or the top. Now we're done, and then if we get rid of the arrows, we have the dress here, and you can just write here, layering by color mapping. Okay. And now we can just save it.